Today on With the First Pick, we're talking rookies. Of course, that means the quarterbacks as well as standout performances from some non-quarterbacks too. We'll also look in on the year 2 QBs and see how they're doing. Spoiler alert, Rick, not great. One's been benched. 2 others are still finding their way. There's a Hall of Famer in the works, so that's good. And later, we'll have a little fun. After what former number 2 overall pick Aiden Hutchinson perpetrated against the Bucs on Sunday, we'll do something Rick's been pining for, a quick little top 10 redraft of the 2022 NFL class. Scale 1 to 10, Rick, how pumped are you?
I am pumped for 10 because I, again, get rules that aren't very clearly stated. So I did it my own way. So it should be fun because we may be doing 2 different sets of rules, but it'll give people out there something to talk about.
Absolutely.
Because I have a few zingers with my picks coming up from the 2020 draft. 21, 22.
22. We'll get there. We're doing them all. We're starting at 2022, working our way back. But, Rick, because it's Tuesday and the NFL season is afoot, we have to start things off with a segment that everyone loves, brand new overreactions. I'm Ryan Wilson. That's Rick Spielman. This is episode 180. And before we get going, this is the new graphic for overreactions, Rick, brought to you by Debo and With the First Pick. You have to check it out on YouTube if you can't see it. Rick is excited, but we'll talk about overreactions in a second. We got to do the old intro before Rick gets antsy over there. How many days, Rick, to the 2025 NFL draft?
There are 219 days left, Ryan Wilson, until the 2025 NFL draft.
I was wondering, I thought you were having a stroke. You're doing your Heisman pose from the overreactions graphic. Okay, good. I'm glad you're okay. 219 days to go. If you can't see Rick, go to YouTube and watch Rick for the graphic and for his reenactment of the graphic of himself. And
it's kind of like a Heisman pose, isn't it?
It is a Heisman pose. Yeah,
you were the same, no, but that was taken when Pete Prisco had his giant little bald head on a 40-yard screen that we had in the studios. And I was a little taken back by that. It's like a little shocked. But I'm trying to reenact that. I'll practice that next time. Is that anywhere close or no?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. By the way, hit the like button here on YouTube. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or both. Rick's got bills to pay. He's wearing a hat today if you're watching us on YouTube, and that's because his toupee isn't in the shop.
Yeah.
I was going to say you needed money to buy the glue for the toupee, but that's you stuck it on there real quick. All right. And a quick
Ryan, I have a little trivia.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Can I hit you with some trivia?
Absolutely.
So in 1987, the brother of one of the people on this podcast finished number 6 in Heisman voting. Can you tell me 1 or 2 of the top 5?
87.
I can give you colleges when you ask.
Okay, so 87. I got to do the math here. I think that's the year the Broncos. Do they get stomped?
This is from Rick. Rick can help too.
Rick, do you know?
No, I don't know. I just know my brother was very mad because Eric Kumaro went before him in a draft. He thought he should have been a first-round pick, my brother, and I think it was a first pick in the second round.
Yep. Yeah, that's right, because I sent you guys the image of Mel Kiper sitting at the desk when Chris's name was at the bottom, because he actually pointed out when we talked to him this summer, he got drafted during the commercial break, so he wasn't angry, wasn't happy about that either. Debo, I feel like there's a running back from Oklahoma.
There's a lot of running backs. Oklahoma's not on the list. I'll tell you, behind him at number 7 was Thurman Thomas. Number 9 was Emmitt Smith.
Thurman's Oklahoma State, and Emmett was Florida. 87. Bernie Kosar. Is that too late?
Yeah, a little late.
Yeah, Bernie was 80.
Geez, Bernie came
winner.
I was going to Miami of Florida as a quarterback when Miami coaches came through Massillon High School for training camp and said, yeah, we'll be in touch with you. We just have to make one more visit. They went up to a small school called Boardman, Ohio. And I never heard back from him again. They saw up there was Bernie Kosar. I don't know what they were seeing. Horrible judgment.
Had you heard of Bernie in high school when you were playing?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so you knew, but he was a small school kid?
Yeah.
Interesting. Debo, give me a school. I got nothing. This is way back.
Notre Dame winner.
Rick Meyer?
No.
Why not?
I think he's on. Is he currently on TV?
Not to my knowledge. Wide receiver.
Oh, Rocket.
No.
It's not Rocket Ismail?
Desmond Howard?
This is going poorly.
Yes, couldn't go more poorly.
Tim Brown.
Tim Brown. Oh, right. I'm thinking, yeah, that's right. Because Chris is a little older than Rocket. Who was the other guy that I said? Oh, yeah. Debo, we didn't think this through.
Debo, can we get the show going? You're pulling out stuff out your arse that we have no recollection of. I was
look at that. Craig Hayward, running back / fullback, went right ahead of Chris. How about that?
Yeah,
there's a Syracuse guy on there, number 2.
Don McPherson, yep. All right. Oh, Gordy Lockbaum. Remember him, Rick?
The ultimate football player at a small school. He is the Travis Hunter of the 1987 draft.
There's a deep pull. I think he might have graced the cover of SI at one point. Yeah. All right. I like that stroll down memory lane, even though Rick and I both failed a class. All right. We're going to summer school again, Rick.
It reminds me of my French class when I got kicked out after those first 2 classes.
Yeah, you were in advanced French and you could barely speak English. There's a problem there.
Yeah.
All right.
We
Adios.
Oh, yeah. She goes, why don't you try sign language? You may have a better chance of passing.
Did you give her the number 1 on your way out the door?
I did. And I passed sign language.
All right. Quick programming note here before Debo interrupted us with the world's worst game show. We're going to mix it up here a little bit. During the NFL season on Tuesdays, we're going to focus on rookies, young players, and even some NFL news, leaning into Rick's 30-plus years in the league. And then on Thursdays, it's all college all the time. So we'll have the weekly WTFP college QB rankings. We'll evaluate some non-QBs like we always do. We'll even look ahead to some weekend matchups, just so everyone knows. All right, Rick, let's go. It is time for overreactions. The premise is pretty simple. We have 5-ish topics from the NFL weekend. Rick doesn't know what they are. And we get his reactions in real time. All right, let's get to it. Number 1. Man, there's a lot to pull from after Monday Night Football, but we'll save Debo's demise for a few moments. First up, and Debo, I don't know if you caught this, but producer Jack had me and Rick on HQ on Monday afternoon with the laughing hyena that is Pete Prisco to make us sit there and take the Bryce Young benching in real time. So, Rick, I'm going to do a lot of speculating here, and you just fill in the blanks.
Okay.
Dave Canales, the head coach, said Sunday after Bryce's worst performance probably in his whole entire life that Bryce is still their quarterback. Less than 24 hours later, Dave Canales announces that Bryce is being benched after he, quote-unquote, watched the tape. As a general manager, this is first-year general manager in Dan Morgan's case, how much input do you think the meddlesome owner had, and how do you go from here as the coach, the GM, the owner, the quarterback who's been benched, the team?
I don't know, at least publicly, the way they came out and what Dave Canales said from what I read is that the owner wasn't involved in this decision. It was a general manager, I think the assistant general manager and a head coach, and I'm sure the offensive coaching staff. So it sounded like the decision was made from football people only and not the owner. So I'm going to say that after watching, Bryce these first 2 games, that it's not all Bryce. Now, Bryce is going to get the blame for it, and yesterday, 5 minutes before the show, they pulled me off the couch. It's typical CBS. Hey, you want to go on in 5 minutes? And what are we talking about? Don't worry about it. Just go on the air. So, but we went on, and you get the defense is horrendous. I mean, they've given up 73 points over the last 2 weeks. They don't have a consistent run game to take some pressure off Bryce. Now, Bryce has had 3 offensive coordinators in 1 year and 2 games, so 19 games. So I don't know if he was put in a situation to at least give him a chance to have success, but he hasn't. He looks like he lost his mojo. He's not playing with a lot of confidence. You don't see the accuracy and everything we talked about coming out in the draft. You don't see that on tape, as we talked about yesterday. You're seeing ghosts, and he's seeing ghosts that aren't there. So I think it's great that he does get benched because they can't go on like this because they're not even competitive. It looks like they're a homecoming team. So if you got Carolina coming up, it's like, okay, let's make sure that's our homecoming game for the year. But it's not all Bryce. So I don't think he's done or over with, but I do think it's a great chance for him to sit and reset. There are a couple quarterbacks I think were first number 1 overall picks that have gotten benched and came back. I believe the most successful one was probably, if I'm not mistaken, Eli Manning. And then he eventually came back and won a Super Bowl. So you can't say a kid's career is over and it's done in 19 games, especially with the circumstances and the situation that he was set up. Does he have to play better? Yes. Does he look like he's just not playing with the same confidence, the same mojo that we saw in college? Can that come back? I think he can. So, but he needs to definitely play better. But there's a lot of circumstances to go along with him. But since he's a quarterback, he's going to get blamed.
Yeah, he has played terribly. He has not helped his case, and we talked about him each and every week last week. But to your point, he ain't playing on the Texans. He ain't playing on the Lions. He's playing on the Panthers, and they're a bad football team. And this trade right now looks pretty horrible. I think the other lesson, I mentioned this yesterday when I was talking to you and Pete, it feels like a cautionary tale for small quarterbacks, unless you are a super athlete like a Kyler Murray, for example, who's had his own bumps and bruises, but you can't be average at everything in terms of measurables and expect to overcome 6'5", 300-pound guys to run 4.5s on the other side of the football.
Yeah, and part of the criticism is because his lack of physical stature, yet they still traded up to go get a small quarterback. So would have been as big of a disaster if they didn't make that trade. I think the trade and everything they gave up with just put a magnifying glass on top of that decision.
Yep, absolutely. All right, because we went so deep into the game show, we got to take a quick break here. But when we come back, we'll get some more overreactions right after this. All right, next up on the overreactions, excuse me. How mad should Debo be and Nick Sirianni for the way that game ended Monday night, Eagles versus Falcons? First home game of the season for Philadelphia. I had no issue with throwing the ball on 3rd and 3 or 4th, whatever it was, to Saquon Barkley in the flat. It hit him in both hands. If he catches it, the game's over. Instead, Kirk Cousins does the anti-Kirk Cousins on national television thing.
Hold on a second. He has the second most comebacks in the 4th quarter, I believe. And everybody talks about his Monday night record. I believe he is 3-1 or 4-1 over the last time he's played on Monday Night Football. And look at the year, 2 years ago or 3 years ago where they went, to the playoffs in Kevin O'Connell's first year. How many come back from behind victories that he has? So is it, everybody still wants to pick on Cousins and he can't win in big games, but geez, what does the guy have to do? Or what does he have to prove?
He started 0-9, and you're exactly right. He's 4-1 since. So let me get that out there. So you can take this any way you want. I would imagine Debo punched his teddy bear last night a few times.
Yeah, well, it sure punched the kitty and everything else that goes along with that. His dog, everything else. So. But it's not. I thought it was a good play call, and if Saquon Barkley catches it, then the game's over. But he dropped it, and that's the risk you take. And it gave them an extra timeout. But you have to blame the defense too, don't you? They got no pressure. It looked like a 7-on-7 drill.
Yeah,
going down, and receivers were open. They were playing that soft zone coverage, whatever prevent, but. They have all these athletes on the defensive side of the ball, yet, went out and got Bryce Huff, yet none of these guys are generating any pressure. And when you have a quarterback at Kirk's age that's coming off an Achilles, that's not very mobile to begin with anyway, and you can't get pressure on him, and you know that if you let him sit in a pocket, he's going to pick you apart, and he's getting more and more comfortable. And I thought Zach Robinson did a better job calling the game as well, because they were able to run the ball, take some pressure off of Kirk having to throw the ball 40 times a game. But, I was excited to see Kirk do what he does. And I was very, very sad last night for Debo.
Debo, who'd you put the blame on?
Saquon Barkley.
Okay, I agree with that. Like I talked.
Should have cut him, never signed him because he has nothing to do. Yeah. Are you saying it's a bad signing, Debo?
I think that was a loser play.
A typical Philly fan. Cut him. Get him out of there.
You could make the case, obviously, for running the ball there, but catch it and it's over, and you're 2-0.
That's funny you say that, Debo, because I talked to our buddy Bryant McFadden, 2-time Super Bowl champ with the Steelers, and Joe Musso last night, and they both were very angry at not running the ball there because they were in Pete Prisco turtle up mode. And to Debo's point, and Rick, it sounds like you actually agree. You wouldn't have been in the working suite yelling and screaming about run the ball, Rick, or you were okay with that play call?
No, I would have said no in the working suite here and you run the ball. You would have definitely.
Okay.
Because you eliminate risk, right? And end of games, there's 5 or 6 plays that make a difference in a game. And if you have control of the game and you're right down there, eliminate that risk. I mean, if it works, you're a genius. But if not, you look like an arsehole. So if you
catch
take the ball off, then it's over.
You could have caught
Rick,
that
you've
ball.
made a lot of good draft picks and signings, but was there ever a signing where you realized early on you may have whiffed? Because I have to feel like Howie Roseman may be thinking that with Bryce Huff.
It's 2 games into the season, Debo.
Okay.
Put your face paint back on and your big eagle thing on your chest that you paint every weekend when you're sitting there running around the house in your eagle gear and just relax. There's 54 games left in the season. We're all well, that's just a typical Debo Philly reaction. All right.
Bryce Huff has not been anywhere to be seen the last 2 weeks, though, Rick.
Yeah, I'll apologize when he sets the single season sack record.
I just wanted to get one or get close to the quarterback. That's all.
Right, exactly. I mean, to Debo's point, though, as a GM, you're wondering, okay, what's going on, right?
Yeah, no, you always wondering that, but it's 2 games into the season. Everybody needs to just relax, enjoy it. Okay, now if it's week 13 and we haven't had a sack yet, then maybe that wasn't a great signing.
All right,
I think it'll be fine, Debo. So whatever you're doing, don't worry about it. Put your chin up, put a smile on your face, and attack the day like you want to attack it with your enthusiasm.
Okay, listen, speaking of relaxing,
because everybody's going to be watching Debo after this podcast, he's going to be climbing back up that ivory tower there, and everybody's going to see his body language, how he responds, and he needs to show as a leader in the organization now that it didn't phase him one bit last night.
I feel like Rick has had to give that talk more than once. Speaking of everyone take a chill pill, let's go to Kansas City, where Jamar Chase got after it with the officials, and that looked like it was going to end one way in a flag, and that's exactly how it ended. And it looked like Jamar didn't want to hear any conversation on the sidelines. He felt like he'd been hip dropped. The officials felt differently. I think the replay showed that he wasn't actually hip dropped, but he was fired up. He didn't get his contract. He's hinted that maybe he feels like it hasn't been a good faith negotiation, or it's gone as honestly as perhaps he wanted it to in the offseason. Is this a problem short-term and long-term? Because we have not seen the Jamar Chase we're accustomed to seeing, and the Bengals are 0-2.
Yeah, it's almost like Debo. He's on edge. It's just any little thing, a pin drops, and then he explodes. You have to show your composure. If you're going to get that $35 million or whatever it's going to be contract, part of being a leader is to have some composure. And I understand it's a very competitive game. You're in Kansas City. You have a chance to beat them, but don't cost your team. And I thought that was a very costly penalty that may have even cost them the game, not because of what you do physically, because you can't control your emotions. And as hard as it is, and I understand, you're in the heat of the battle, all the stuff that goes along with that. If you're a pro's pro, control your emotions. You've seen Joe Burrow trying to push him away from the official, but you're going to get flagged if you keep going back at the official. It's dumb. Just keep your composure, be a pro's pro, and go out and do your job.
And what if he says to you, or his agent says to you, well, I was very well intentioned to be a pro, but you promised me the money that I don't currently see in my bank account?
Well, I don't know what the negotiations are or what's going on with it too. So I don't know what side is not being able to consummate this deal, if you want to put it that way, but it can't carry over to the field.
Okay, fair enough. I think I don't think anyone would disagree with that. All right, let's go to a situation with the Jets. They got a big win, but in the process, Jermaine Johnson, who you've known since high school, towards Achilles, and he was coming on. And in his place, Will Anderson, the former first-round pick, had 3 sacks. So that was a bright spot. Jermaine's done for the season, it sounds like, with the Achilles injury. What does this mean, if anything, for Hassan Reddick's negotiation? Or are you saying, hey, Will McDonald stood up, maybe Hassan Reddick still has no leverage?
Yeah, maybe I'm confused, Ryan. Is it Will Anderson or Will McDonald?
Will McDonald the fourth. Will Anderson's our guy in Houston.
Yeah, I know. You just said Will Anderson.
Oh, sorry. Will McDonald the fourth. Yeah. Iowa State. Thank you.
So now I don't know where this is, but everybody is, how can I put it nicely on podcasts, holding their ground and on principle. And it's time to come together, especially losing Jermaine, who had a great year last year, really started coming on and is one of their main pass rushers. And now they're down one. So you got this guy sitting out there that's supposed to come in, and I don't know how big of impact he has. How many times has a guy come into a new organization? It's not like Chris Jones last year, but Chris Jones has been in Kansas City that had a major impact. This guy, I don't even know if he got a T-shirt yet from the Jets because he's only there for less than 12 hours for his press conference and then took off.
Sounds like Bryce Huff in Philadelphia. Just showed up for the T-shirt.
At least he got a T-shirt. Maybe he can give it to Debo, since Debo don't think he's the biggest UFA bust ever signed by Howie Roseman. So I think they just have to really come together and see if they can get this resolved, because to me, losing a Jermaine Johnson, it was great to hold your ground knowing you had Jermaine and the way Will McDonald has come on, but now you're down in pass rusher and you have to be able to rush the quarterback. And so it'll be interesting to see if both sides of this negotiation can really just come together and see if they can get it resolved. If not, then what are you going to do with him? He'll sit out the whole year. It sounds like he don't care.
Okay. Well, I hope he has a backup plan, because that's going to cost you, but that's his prerogative for sure. It's Hassan Reddick. All right. So bad news for Jermaine. Hopefully he bounces back. Great news for Will McDonald the fourth, and we'll see where Hassan ends up when this is all said and done. All right, let's go to Chicago, and we'll talk in depth about Caleb Williams in a moment. Strong start. By the end of it, I'm surprised he didn't leave that field in a wheelchair and cast on both arms and his neck in a neck brace, because he took an absolute whooping. Is there any conversation that you have as you walk down from the working suite and the mouse is running around upstairs, where you need to explain to the coaching staff that you don't want your quarterback to only play 1 week because he's getting blistered?
Oh, they just got to figure out a way to hopefully try to protect him better, and it's a little
hope ain't a plan is a saying.
Yeah, you stay to the plan. You don't sit him. Now you're going to sit him after.
No, I'm not asking. I'm saying, do you have a conversation with somebody in the organization about protecting Caleb Williams?
Huh?
Do you have a conversation with somebody that works for you about, hey, we got to do a better job of protecting this kid? He should play 100%.
Well, I'm sure if they're not talking about it in their staff meetings or after they're watching the tape, then you don't have the right people in place taking this kid.
Fair enough.
It's quite obvious. If two numbskulls like us can see it, you think the guys that are getting paid to make these decisions will figure out a way to protect them better. But Caleb has to get rid of the ball too. But everybody wants to throw him under the bus, and he's number 2. Relax, people. It's a long season yet, and rookie quarterbacks take time to adjust.
Yeah. Last year, Houston started 0-2 with some guy named C.J. Stroud that went to the playoffs. I'm not worried about Caleb. I'm worried about he's tough as nails. I'll give him that. He kept getting up, but he got blistered.
Well, they got some pretty good edge rushers there that outmatched them with Daniil and Will Anderson.
Yeah, for sure. I mentioned the Houston Texans started 0-2 last year. Which 0-2 team are you least worried about now that we're 2 weeks into the season? I'll give you the teams in the AFC, and then we'll go to the NFC. So let's start in the AFC. The Bengals, the Ravens, the Titans, the Jaguars. By the way, the Jaguars have lost 7 straight with Trevor Lawrence. Oof. The Colts and the Broncos. Which team are you least worried about at 0-2?
Ravens, I'm going to say. I think they're adjusting to the new defensive coordinator. They got to play the run better. They lost 3 coaches on the defensive side of the ball. Their offensive line is young. They got 3 new starters up front, so they're still trying to figure that out. Lamar's got to play better. Derrick Henry hasn't been really the impact that everybody thought he was going to be when they did sign him, but there's plenty of time. I think they have too much talent on this team that they'll figure out. John Harbaugh is too good of a football coach that they'll be fine. They just need to get it going here a little bit. And just for a fact, Brian Wilson, Gardner Minshew went in and beat Baltimore last year in overtime when he was in Indy. So he has whatever that is he has when he goes to Baltimore and creates the upset. Great job by him, though. That was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, and we'll talk about one of his playmakers in a minute who had 9 targets and 9 catches, and his name rhymes with Brock Bowers. By the way, Brock Bowers is my new favorite player because he and I have the same hairdo, and we're 40 years apart, so I appreciate that. All right, let's go to the NFC side. 0-2 teams that you are least worried about, and I don't know if there's a candidate here in the NFC side, the Giants, the Panthers, and the Rams.
Ugh. Yeah. Yeah. I would panic in all 3 of those. I wish I could put something positive. Yeah, the Giants, the kicker thing, they probably win that game if they have a kicker. But the Panthers, I mean, what right now it looks, you don't give, again, Bryce Young, we talked about all that, but you don't give up 73 points on the defensive side of the ball and get rid of a lot of your good players. And they lost
Brian Burns,
but Derek Brown, who they lost for the season.
Oh, right. Yeah, absolutely. Frankie Louvu left, and he's a tone setter for the Washington.
Right. Yeah, but they said he couldn't fit in the scheme down there in Carolina.
Okay, so, he just drove up north an hour and a half, and he's fine now.
Yeah, so I would be panicking if I were Carolina. I'd be panicking if I were the Giants, but not as panicky as Carolina. And the Rams, I don't know if they have anyone left. If Cooper Kupp goes on IR, the offensive line is beat to hell. Puka Nacua is down for the next 5-6 weeks.
Yeah.
They don't run the ball. They don't play good on defense. Their back end's a mess. They're playing with a lot of young guys up front. So it may be a long season for the LA Rams. And going into Arizona, like we talked about in preseason, may be better than people are anticipating. And if this connection starts to go with what we'll talk about here shortly, watch out. Here come the Cardinals.
I love the sing-songy Rick. All right, let's end on a positive note. Which 2-0 teams, semi-positive note, which 2-0 teams do you not trust? In the AFC, the Bills, the Steelers, the Texans, and the Chargers. Don't even say it.
Steelers. Just to spite you. No, they got too good a defense.
You think so, though?
Yeah, they're playing good on defense, and I think Justin Fields is playing well. I mean, that one rope he threw rolling to his right was a big boy throw now. That not too many quarterbacks can make. That'll be interesting to see if they keep rolling.
The Chargers are in town in Pittsburgh this weekend. Do you go back to Russ if he's healthy, or you just keep you play high school football with Justin?
No, with Justin Fields, and it's not like he's not helping. And then that threat of his ability to run the ball, why wouldn't you stick with Justin Fields right now?
He hasn't turned the ball over yet either, which is important.
No. And then the Chargers, that's big boy football there. If you're going to run the ball 150 times a game, I think 44 rushes last week. Now it was against the Carolina Panthers, and we've already beat the hell out of them in this podcast so far.
You ran them over. And now you're backing up the car.
Yeah. Now we're backing it up and peeling out going forward. So this will be a fun game to watch because it's 2 physical teams. Although the advantage may be to Herbert, and it was great to see Johnston come out of his shell a bit.
Quentin finally played well. Hey, let me ask you this, because I was thinking about this with Jim Harbaugh, and he turned things around almost overnight in San Francisco the first go round. How important is it? And this is a sort of a dumb question, but I don't think it is, because this team stunk under Brandon Staley. There's no 2 ways about it. How important is it to get the coaching right? Because it feels like coaching can even overcome. They have good players on Los Angeles Chargers roster, but it can overcome average locker room mentality, even if you have some dudes in the locker room.
I think that he knows what he wants. Like last year, the Chargers, it wasn't because they had a lack of talent. They have good football players.
Right.
But the defense, they threw the ball 450 times a game instead of running the ball like the Chargers are doing now. They're playing with less talent and still winning at the receiver position. Their defense is much sounder than it was a year ago. So I think that the difference is right now, you got to say it's in the coaching because they don't have the same dudes and they're running the ball. They're playing more physical. They're playing sounder on defense. So, yeah, you got to give credit to Jim Harbaugh and what he does as a coach. Everywhere he goes, he's won.
Yep.
And he has a formula. Whether you like it or not, who cares? It works.
Right. And you can't blame this one on Connor Stallions because everyone has headsets. All right. Finally, which 2-0 team do you not trust in the NFC? The Vikings, the Saints, the Seahawks. These are all three really good football teams.
Yeah, they're all playing at a high level. I got to get, the Vikings, Kevin O'Connell now is the new quarterback, magician, guru, the way he's got Sam Darnold playing. They're playing efficient on offense. Sam Darnold hasn't really turned the ball over, and it's not because Sam Darnold doesn't have the physical ability or the arm talent. I mean, the big shot he took down the field to Justin Jefferson was pretty impressive, and then JJ does what JJ does with the ball after the catch. But if they can play efficient on offense in the way Brian Flores' defense is playing right now, where he's got dudes coming from everywhere, and Brock Purdy even said it after the game, this is a hard defense to figure out. So kudos to Brian Flores, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets another head coaching opportunity based on some of the things he said after the Tua situation and how he's grown and learned. So, but kudos to him for what he's done with that defense.
Hey, let me ask you quickly. Did you draft Jalen Naylor?
No.
Because on that JJ long touchdown run, he sprinted 120 yards and made a critical block on that play. And that was also, that's the things you have to, in terms of buy-in, and that's something you don't always see. You didn't see it necessarily with Deontay Johnson in Pittsburgh. He's saying some things in Carolina, not to pile on there, but those things stick out. The other thing that I want to note in that touchdown, and the NFL tweeted this out, the official, I don't know what their names are, whoever plays deep safety position at the official position, that guy.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's it called?
I think a back judge.
The back judge, he ran a 4.5 40 keeping up with JJ, and then he flipped his hips and he was backpedaling once he got into the end zone. He might be the best defensive back on that play. So anyway, go ahead.
What do you want me to go?
Saints and Seahawks.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks, Mike McDonald has brought some fresh energy there. Geno Smith's playing lights out right now in this new offense, and Ryan Grubb has answered some of the questions that can a college head offensive coordinator come to the NFL and have success.
When you have Geno, you can.
Yeah, well, and you're seeing Jackson Smith and then Jigba have a breakout game, and the talent he has, and Metcalf, and if Walker can stay healthy and they're able to run the ball, and their defense has gotten better. So all three of these teams, it's hard to really say that none of them are a facade right now.
Hey, before we take a quick break, let me ask you about Clint Kubiak, though, the offensive coordinator in New Orleans, because he's rejuvenated Derek Carr, it feels like, and that offense. Clint Kubiak, he's a Kyle Shanahan disciple, or he's from the tree, whatever you want to say. Are there any similarities between him and his dad? Any differences? Like, what do you know about Clint that people maybe don't know?
I think Clint has really grown as a coach. He was the offensive coordinator for us for a year, and he knew the answers to Coach Zimmer's defense. Reminded me of when we played on Christmas Day, and the game was like 52 to whatever at halftime during the COVID year, when Alvin Kamara went up and down the field. I think he had 6 touchdowns that game. So the thing that I was kind of surprised, and I understand Deshaun Watson is not playing and played horrible in that opener against Dallas's defense, and Dallas had all the answers. But Kevin Stefanski also worked for Zim, but he didn't seem to have the same answers to that defense as Clint Kubiak did. And I think when Clint Kubiak went to San Francisco and spent some time learning that system, I think it made him grow as a coach. And if New Orleans keeps going on offense the way they're going, if they're throwing up, 40 points a game, and what they've done for the first 2 games, you watch his name not become one of those hot coaching candidates here at the end of the season.
Yeah, Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowick, and maybe Clint Kubiak is next. Great start for New Orleans. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, going to talk about these rookie quarterbacks and 9 QBs right after this.
A Quiet Place Day 1 is now streaming on Paramount Plus. It's thrilling, terrifying. It will make your heart pound out of your chest. A Quiet Place Day 1, now streaming.
All right, Debo, what'd you think of overreactions week 2? I thought it was pretty good. Did you learn anything?
B- effort.
All right, you got to get better, Rick. B-
See, I give pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
like any normal teacher.
All right. Speaking of pluses and minuses, let's grade these rookie quarterbacks, Rick. I'll go down the list. I have them on the rundown, and then we can grade them at the end of the conversation in terms of 1, 2, and 3. But first up, Jaden Daniels versus the New York Giants. Another efficient performance, 23, 29, 226 total yards, no turnovers. Didn't have any touchdowns either. Ran 10 times for 44 yards. It's clear to me that Clint Kubiak has a plan, and the plan is to get the ball out of Jaden's hand.
Okay, not Kubiak.
Oh, gosh. Cliff Kingsbury. Thank you.
Then it's got you all riled when he like skirmies down on his all fours, come down the ivory tower. You kind of get a little nervous when Debo.
I know. The boss is in the office today. Cliff Kingsbury.
He puts out his pants like everybody else,
like everyone else except Rick Spielman. Cliff Kingsbury. Thank you, the offensive coordinator for Washington. I thought his plan for Jaden was this: get the ball out of his hands quickly, quick game, screen game, push the ball down the field a little bit as the game goes on and Jaden feels more comfortable, and Jaden rips some throws down the field, but you're not putting everything on his plate. And it feels like what the Texans figured out last year after week 2 with CJ, and he's coming along. He's progressing nicely. He's not losing in football games. He's not turning the ball over, and he's winning with his legs when he has to, and he's not taking huge hits. Like, I saved the one hit he took in the first half where he had to come out for a play because he got crushed in the ribs.
Yeah, but no, the one thing, the critical thing that you just said, he's not turning the ball over. CJ Stroud did not turn the ball over last year, and that's what made him. I think he's going to continue to grow. He's really good. He made some really nice shots at the intermediate level between the hashes, missed some throws outside the hashes, makes plays with his legs, but it's really helped him is all of a sudden Brian Robinson is a legitimate running back. And when he can rush for 100-some yards to take the pressure off some of these young quarterbacks, that really helps. So out of all the rookie quarterbacks right now, Jaden Daniels, to me, is by far the clear-cut number 1 quarterback in this class.
And look, they had offensive line questions coming into this thing. Jaden, there were questions about how he would translate to the next level. But I think part of the thing is that the offensive line is playing better than perhaps we thought. It's not
the reason they look maybe a little better is because of his ability to escape pressure and get outside the pocket.
Fair enough.
They have the left tackle Coleman is struggling a little bit when I watch the tape. The rookie left tackle.
Yeah, and we talked about if that's going to be a plan, putting a rookie left tackle out there. So maybe not, but I think he is faring better. You just said it than the other 2 quarterbacks right now. The other thing is, and I had some questions about this. He's throwing with anticipation on these outside intermediate routes. The ball to Zach Ertz that Zach had to make the contested catch on. I'm fine with that. It could have gotten intercepted. It could have gotten knocked down, but you're giving your big tight end a chance to make a play. You're throwing with anticipation. You're playing on time. I have no issue with that. The only thing that I mentioned there, don't get helicoptered around and take a hit in the ribs. Everything else I thought was pretty promising. What grade do you want to give them?
I'm giving them an A.
Oh, good.
Got 2.
I'm going to give them A-.
Yay.
All right, next up. Let's go to Bo Nix. I'll ask you the same question I asked you last week. Why are we throwing the ball 35 times a game? I know they were down 10-0 or 13-0 or whatever it was. I know the running game can't get going. I know the Steelers defense is great. But are you helping your quarterback long-term by letting him get teed off on by Highsmith and Herbig and, of course, T.J. Watt play after play?
No, and it looks like no rhythm. There's nothing, but they're not opening up a lot of holes in a running game. So I think sometimes you panic a little bit if it's not working in the first quarter. So then you're going to start throwing the ball all over the yard, and Bo Nix is not ready to do that. And I saw a thing on Twitter on him trying to call a play in the huddle, which took him 10 minutes to get out.
Yeah,
because of the length of some of the play calling, which you're trying to regurgitate that out to everybody, but then coming up to the line and trying to figure everything else out. That's a lot to put on a young quarterback. But he's got to make better decisions. I mean, red zone first quarter, you're going to throw the interception. They're only down 10-0. Second, the Hail Mary was the other interception, so I'm not going to blame him for that. But he's trying to throw off his back foot in the pocket, never really gets set. Looks hurried. The game looks fast to him. Dulcich didn't help with the 2 drops. He was horrible. And out of UCLA, it's supposed to be the pass catching tight end. The accuracy we've seen in college is not the same accuracy that we're seeing now. So he did try to take some more shots down the field, but his deep ball accuracy is, God, that is bad. I didn't see much improvement from week 1, in my opinion. In fact, it may have digressed some.
Yeah, and he's up against it. I mean, the defense is one of the best defenses in the NFL, and you're probably side-eyeing TJ Watt every time you drop back. And to your point, the play call takes forever to get out. I don't know why you wouldn't simplify it. I know that Sean Payton said during the preseason that, they love Bo from the start. They loved how smart he was, his veteran experience, so on and so forth. But he's in a new job, in a new city, learning a new system. And so far, it ain't going great. I don't even put a lot of that. I put 25% of that on Bo. He's sort of thrown into the situation. I think. Let me ask you this:
he's not performing very well either. But everybody, again, we're in week 2, so he's played against 2 pretty good defenses to open the season up. Even Seattle's defense with Mike McDonald. So we'll see if he. I just like to see progress. So where is he at? Is he still making the same mistakes week 5 or 6, week 10? Does it still look like this? Or hopefully there's some improvement as they continue to go.
What's your grade for Bo?
D.
A B as in boy?
Dog.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, my goodness. All right, I gave him a C-. It's early, to your point. He can turn things around. And look, if you're going to check down everything and do all that stuff, just don't turn the ball over. I'm fine with baby steps, but you can't have turnovers. The in the game one's fine, but the other one unacceptable in the red zone. All right, next up, Caleb Williams. Strong start. They were getting the ball out of his hands. He was throwing on time. He threw that intermediate out on 3rd down. That was a laser, 13 or 14 yards on that first drive. And then after that, felt like things fell apart. He was holding the ball too long. People joked on the internet that he thought he was playing Washington State with all that running around, and he was getting run down. You can't do that. And then the last quarter, he just took hit after hit after hit when they were trying to mount a drive, even though the game was pretty close. There's some stuff early on I liked, and by the end, I was like, all right, let's just throw in the white towel and move on to the week 3.
He can't float the ball. You notice, he's trying to throw downfield across his body, which is an asinine throw. He tries to float the ball down there. Well, these DBs are pretty good. They get there a lot faster than the college guys do at Utah State or Washington State to make plays on the balls in the air. I think he's going through some growing pains and learning what does and doesn't he can and can't do, and what he can get away with and what he can't. The thing that disappointed me the most was the deep ball accuracy. And when you see DJ Moore frustrated on him open, and yet the ball is like off target, you can start to see some of the frustration starting to build with the receivers. So they better nip that in the bud pretty quick, or it may be a longer season than Chicago fans anticipated.
Yeah, and it's not – I don't recall seeing DJ get frustrated even last year when the quarterback –
I've seen frustration this year.
Yeah, already. And that was the 4th down play, I believe. Whatever the play was on the left sideline there late in the game, and the ball wasn't even close. Next gen stats, Caleb Williams was most efficient as a passer when getting the ball out in under 2.5 seconds. And that's something we talked about all last season and early on that we saw that. And then once they went away from that, things got sort of crazy. All right, let's talk about some let's give a grade here. What do you got?
C.
I gave him a C as well. So if we're ranking these guys, Jaden far and away the best, and then Caleb and Bo have some work to do. All right, let's talk about some non-quarterbacks here. Let's start with Malik Neighbors, 18 targets, 10 receptions, 127 yards. Looked like he was at LSU. Daniel Jones played pretty well, and that was overshadowed by the Commanders winning that football game. The only knock, and I'm sure Malik would be the first one to tell you this, the 4th down and 4 drop on the sidelines there where they had a chance to win that game because their kicker was hurt, as you talked about a moment ago. Everything else, absolutely electric with Malik, and I think he's only going to improve on that.
Yeah, no, he catches the ball. He's got great run after catch skills. The speed is evident when you watch the tape. He's a big time playmaker, and the 4th and 4 drop was critical, cost them the game actually. So that's, but that's part of football, just like Barkley cost Philly the game, and Debo wants to cut Barkley today if Debo was the GM. So But this guy right now, to me, through the first 2 weeks of the season, is my offensive rookie of the year. The way he's played and shown the impact he has for the Giants. They got to play better, but he's the real deal now.
Yeah, absolutely. Fun watch, and he is Odell Beckham-like in terms of his ability to take over games as a young player, feels like. Is that too far?
That's too far.
Oh, you think so? Okay. All right. Well, we shall see. Next up. Let me look. Oh, I'm looking at this. So Nate Tice of Yahoo actually tweeted this out from Next Gen Stats. Rookie wide receivers with max speed over 20 miles per hour so far in 2024. Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr. of the Jaguars. And let's see who's Marvin Harrison Jr., who didn't run a 40, didn't work out at the combine. Everyone's yelling and screaming about, oh, he must be slow. And then he shows up in week 2 against the Rams, and he looks like a high school senior playing against a bunch of 4-year-olds in Pee Wee football, and just lit up that secondary. Deep ball after deep ball. Great play by Kyler Murray as well. All his damage was done in the first quarter. Marvin had 8 targets, 4 receptions, 130 yards to 2 touchdowns. Both were great touchdowns. One was an effort play. The second one, the first one was getting his feet down to the back of the end zone. What is your biggest concern about Marvin Harrison Jr.?
My biggest concern is the LA Rams fans going to get all over you for calling him a junior high defense.
Do they have an answer for him? Trey White, who I love, did not have any answers.
I don't know about that, boy. You're going to I hate to see your Twitter account.
Yeah, for a lot of reasons. Two old guys explaining Twitter to one another. What did you think of Marvin?
Yeah, he got game in A. They finally got him involved in the offense. You can see everything that you saw in college. He's a big body kid and can go up and get the ball. Great body control to get both feet down on that first touchdown. I wish, and that timing's going to come, but he could have probably had 4 touchdowns if the 2 red zone throws were better, in my opinion, from Kyler.
A little end zone, like the fade back shoulders didn't quite timing wise.
Yeah, and I think that timing will come the more and more they play together. But I think he's going to be an unbelievable red zone threat once they get that timing down. But you see him after the catch, his ability to separate down the field. He's a build-up speed guy, but he's so smooth as an athlete. You don't think he's running fast, but he is.
He's gliding. Yeah, and that over on the second touchdown, the build-up speed, to your point, he wasn't max speed off the line of scrimmage by the middle of the field. He was going 20 miles an hour. So you said A for Marvin?
Yes.
What'd you give him a league? I forgot to ask.
A.
I give him an A- just because of the 4th and 4, and you don't give minuses, so we agree on that. All right, let's go to my new favorite hero, the poster child.
Amazing. They make one mistake, and you guys want to throw them out, the baby in the bathwater, whatever that's saying.
You just said they lost the game because they dropped the 4th and 4. I got to give him a minus on that. He's still like
Barkley lost the game because he dropped the 4th down pass.
Well, Debo gave him an F, so we're all square there. All right, let's go to my new favorite player, the poster person for with the first pick on my side of the screen, Brock Bowers. Same hairdo, a little more athletic than me. 9 targets, 9 receptions, 96 yards, 1 touchdown. He looked like a receiver out there in a big body, and he contested catch all day long, getting separation, line him up anywhere. All the things we talk about at Georgia, except now he's 100% healthy, doesn't have the ankle. What'd you think of Brock?
Yeah, no, he's a playmaker. And everybody, is it too high to take a tight end? You're already, because I have Loveland up there, and you think that that's too high to take in the first round. So you're saying that Telesco made a mistake taking Brock Bowers that early in the draft, which
13th overall
is fine for you. But now you're going to jump on his bandwagon, just like
that's how I do it.
Media, you're right up there with the rest of the mainstream media,
the Yahoos, as you call them.
But he's excellent. Just so much savvy and awareness, even when he came back for that deep ball down by the goal line, just to know to come back and get the ball, the run after catch, everything you've seen in college is translating to the NFL. Even as a blocker, even though he's not a killer as a blocker, he does give effort and he's just a good football player and had a major impact on them pulling off that big upset in Baltimore.
Hey, Debo, hit the dollar bet wipe. You got that handy?
I love that thing.
Shout out to producer Harry. Brock Bowers drafted 13th overall. Colston Loveland, higher or lower?
Well, it's too early, but I'm going to say lower. because he doesn't have the same history that Brock Bowers has right now.
Oh, I see. You sort of pulled the old switcheroo on me because you had him going top 10 in our mock draft last Thursday. Now you're saying he goes.
I'll go higher. Put $1 on that. I'll go higher than Brock Bowers.
I'll even give you 13th. So you 1 through 13. I'll throw 13 in there for you for free.
Okay. Thank
1
you.
through 13, Debo. Rick is on Colson Loveland. I just made myself $1. We'll see.
Yeah. I just want the clearinghouse or Walter House, whatever that accounting firm is, to make sure that they're doing the the tallying of the dollar bets, because somehow I think I've got shystered last season.
I'm laughing at the Walter House. It's the Publishers Clearinghouse, and there's another clearinghouse that does. Anderson Consulting does the counting. So we'll get both of them involved, and Walter's house as well.
I couldn't afford Anderson, so I just did Walter House. He lives right over the street. He does actually some IT work on the island. He said, "Yeah, I'll go and do counting, whatever you need."
Yeah, he's got all 10 of his fingers, so let's throw him in there. All right, next up. And this is not so much a fun conversation, but a conversation worth having. Their second round pick of the Chiefs, Kingsley Sumatea, left tackle at BYU. We talked about him throughout the draft process. He was at the Senior Bowl. We weren't as high on him as some other people were. I thought day 2 made sense. They, much like the conversation we're having with Coleman in Washington, they drafted Kingsley and they started him. And Trey Hendrickson did not care, the left tackle, or excuse me, the edge rusher number 91 for the Bengals, because he got after it to the point that they had to bench Kingsley because he was getting pressure so much as a pass rusher. I thought he did okay in terms of the run game. They brought in Wanya Morris, who we saw at the Senior Bowl a couple years ago. Fared a little better, but not much. They got a big holding call. They called back a Travis Kelce long play late in the game. But what'd you think of Kingsley? Because I think a lot of that's probably mental once you keep getting beat time and time again. And then let me just tell you what Andy Reid said after the game. He said it'll be a great experience for Kingsley. He can put that away and learn from it. On benching him, Andy Reid said sometimes you got to take a step back, take a step forward.
Yeah, he had a rough day now. And Trey Hendrickson's one of those going Jessies that, that is coming. And then he said, "I've got me one," probably after the third snap of the game.
But let me ask you this. Didn't you think that Kingsley started off okay? Things didn't get bad till the second half, it felt like.
No, I thought it was horrible.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Go ahead.
So the problem with him at left tackle, and I saw it at the Senior Bowl, was that I think he's ankle stiff for a left tackle. And I think he plays with too high a pad level. I don't know if he can bend. He doesn't have great feet to redirect and adjust. Now, all rookie left tackles have time they've got to learn on the job. But when Trey Hendrickson got underneath his pads, he walked him into the quarterback. That's not a good. He had a holding penalty. I think he had a hands of the face penalty. He is a better run blocker, although he's not explosive. His mass creates some inside running lanes, but the pass protection, I don't know if I trust him to keep him out there one-on-one versus the edge rushers that he's going to have to face. And if you do, you better do a better job of maybe getting some help on that chipping or whatever you have to do to give him some help in pass protection. Because we even argued, was he a left tackle athlete or should he move to the right side? That was some of the things that were brought up in the pre-draft process.
I think the Chiefs play the Falcons next. Are you leaving him out there against a Matt Judon type, or are you thinking about starting Wanya Morris?
Oh, those one of those conversations that, they're going to have probably these next 2 days. So maybe they get him back out there and try to keep him going again.
Yeah.
And hopefully learn from this. But, Judon's a pretty good pass rusher too.
Yeah, he had some fun last night as well. All right, what's your grade for Kingsley?
D as in dog.
D as in dog. I gave him a C-. He'll get better. But yeah, that was a introduction to the NFL moment. All right, let's talk about some non-quarterbacks on defense real quick before we take what I would imagine is another break here. One of our favorite players, and you were a huge fan of this young man when you saw his calves live and in person at the Combine, Byron Murphy. He's not quite as dominant as he was at Texas, but there were flashes of the Byron Murphy we saw at Texas and the sheer strength with which he plays. One of my favorite plays was at the goal line there, where he push-pulled a guard to the ground and then body slam suplex Ramondre Stevenson from getting to the end zone. I think he's exactly where you want him to be, and he's going to get a lot better.
He's going to get better. Better pass rusher than run blocker now, or run defender. There's no question that he stands people up at the line of scrimmage in the run game, but he needs to get off blocks quicker. He made a couple plays, cleared his feet of a cut block, and made a nice tackle for a no gain. But a couple other times he got thrown out the bar versus a double team, and then he's holding the point, which is great, but now he's got to get off and find the ball carrier, which I think that comes in time. And then
what's your expectations against a double team for someone like Byron Murphy? What do you want him to do?
Just hold the point,
okay,
and keep your pad level a little lower, and that comes with him feeling that pressure. And it's different than when, Bobby Shikowitz and Frank Acevedo comes down and tries to double team you when you're playing,
Do they know Walter?
Yeah. Prairie View State, Schluckowitz.
What's your grade for Byron?
I gave him a B. A for pass rusher, C for run.
Okay, I'm with you. B right there. All right, let's talk quickly about Kool-Aid McKinstry. Got forced in the action because Marshawn Lattimore was a little banged up there. 41 coverage snaps. Had a pass defense. I think you can take something away from it, even though they're whooping up on the Cowboys. He had to go up against CeeDee Lamb. He had a good rep against him in the end zone. I thought that was a positive development for a guy who we thought has a chance to be a first rounder. Ended up going early in the second.
Yeah, instead of Kool-Aid, they called him Cool Cucumber.
Look at that. Look at that, Debo. That's an ouch.
Debo, do you want me to start writing for this show or no?
That's a no.
Apparently not. He must have left and scurried back up the ivory tower.
You had to take an important phone call.
Yeah. No, he looked just calm, savvy, everything you want in a corner for a rookie. Played some press, played some off, was quick to react underneath. You can tell he's been out there and was coached by Nick Saban. The way he played, didn't get many opportunities in run support, just trying to go through some of the run plays, but this guy looked polished, looked like he plays with swag and a lot of confidence.
I gave him a B+ for what I saw.
Yeah, I gave him a B.
All right, next up, Kamari Lassiter, who went either one pick before or one pick after Kool-Aid in the second round. He would have gone in the first round if he didn't run that 4.6. Doesn't play like a 4.6 guy, plays like a 4.5 guy at least. He's physical. He will hit you. He will come downhill. He had the PBU in the end zone with Rome Odunze. Oh, what I thought was a pretty interesting slant touch pass from Caleb. I thought Rome should have caught it, whatever he didn't. PBU for Kamari. And then he had the interception on one of the best catches we saw this weekend over the shoulder, going away from him to your point about Caleb's lack of accuracy in those deep ball throws. I don't want to say this is a steal. We liked Kamari. Just that 4.6 gave people pause. Just another example of sort of Brian Branch syndrome. Really, really good football player.
Yeah, and plays faster than his time speed. And the awareness on that 7 route, the one that we just talked about, Caleb Williams floating, and him to have the awareness receiver behind him go up and make that interception as well. He had natural hands, physical and run support. I think he's better than off and press. Although the one thing that really stood out to me, and even though he runs 4.6, for most of the game, he knows when to turn his hips, and he can stay on top of the receivers when he gets extended downfield. Very smart, instinctive football players that knows his limitations, but also knows how to overcome those limitations. And I gave him an A.
Hey, absolutely. I agree with you there. Great job there. Debo, do you want to take a break? What do you want to do?
Debo went up the ivory tower.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to keep going there.
All
right. Next up, because we're crunched for time here, Rick, because overreactions was such a huge hit, we're going to skip talking Anthony Richardson, Will Levis for today, but we'll save it for next week because there will be plenty to talk about. And we're going to do the 2022 redraft, which I know you're very excited about. Let me read the directions for people, and hopefully they understand it a little better. I'm concerned that they will, but just humor me, Rick. All right, here are the 2022 redraft rules. It's be a fun game that Ricky cannot wait to do. It was his idea. Assume the players in the 2022 NFL draft are available, and you're picking for the 2024 NFL rosters of the 5 teams we're each responsible for. We're doing 10 picks back and forth. So the year is 2024. The date is September 17th. And through the power of the internet, Rick, the 2022 draft class is available for us to all enjoy. Pick your favorite players from that class, knowing everything that we know now as we head into week 3. Bold, italics, underline. Do not assume 2022 needs. We're assuming live in person September 17th, 2024 needs. I'm picking first as the Jacksonville Jaguars. They originally took Trevon Walker. They have everything they have now. I'm going to give Josh Allen Hines some help. I'm taking Aiden Hutchinson, who had 4.5 to 5 sacks, depending on who you asked last week against Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I would do the same. I had him. I thought I had to do all 10, so I did all 10.
You see, folks, this is what I'm dealing with. If you're watching on YouTube, I highlighted in blue. Rick makes pick, and then you're crazy, man. All right, so Rick did all 10 because he did extra credit, so he would have taken Aiden number 1 as well. All right, you're on the clock as the Detroit Lions, who originally took Aiden back in 2022. In 2024, how are you making the 2024 Detroit Lions better, Rick?
I'm going to take Walker because I think he fits.
Wait a second.
I think he fits the mold of Dan Campbell. He plays his rear end off. He's a unique athlete. He's getting better by the game, and I would have taken Trayvon Walker then. Although Sauce Gardner came into my mind as well.
In the parentheses after the pick, Debo, you can put in the grade that you would give the pick if you would like. It's up to you to do that. If you're listening, Debo gave the Trevon Walker at number 2 pick an F. All right, number 3, the Houston
pass fail.
The Houston Texans are on the clock. They originally took Derek Stingley Jr. Oh man, this is tough because there's so many. They don't need this player, so I can't have them take this player right here. Oh my gosh, I'm struggling because this team is so good. I need to trade the pick out and have a team trade and get a quarterback.
This is why if I'm clear, I know exactly who you're going to pick, or I would have picked, and I know who I'm going to take next. It's not that difficult. Make your pick and move on. This would be like in the draft where you're sitting there. Okay, Ryan, you got like 3 seconds left. What card do you want to turn in?
All right. I'm going to bolster. Oh, man. Okay. I'm going to take
off.
I'm going to take Charles Cross. I don't even know what this team needs. This team is so Devo gave it enough. It's
Are you kidding me with this pick? They just paid whatchamacallit $100 million.
Laramie?
Like times. Yeah.
Yeah, he can play. Charles plays right tackle. You just move him over there. I know they have Titus Howard, but I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I don't who'd you have them taking, just out of curiosity?
I am taking Sauce.
But again, I mean, they have 18 guys that are really good in the secondary.
Who?
We just talked about Kamari. They have Derek Stingley Jr. They have the safeties. Sauce doesn't play safety.
I would have taken Sauce.
All right. Fair enough. I panicked. What else is new? All right, you're up. You're picking for the New York Jets at 4. What are you doing?
I would have taken I'm not taking Sauce. I am going to take Garrett Wilson here.
Oh boy, I can't wait to see this grade. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Any other receivers and Garrett Wilson? I mean, he's one of the top receivers in the league. You've got what if they don't have Garrett? They didn't take Garrett Wilson. Who the hell are they going to take here? And who's the heck?
Just take Sauce there and then wait for your 10th pick and take Olave or London.
No, because they're not going to be there.
All right.
I can guarantee you they're going to be there. All right, watch this move at 5, Debo. Carolina Panthers are in a bad way. Rick picks 6 for Carolina Panthers. I'm the New York Giants at 5. Come on down, Brock Purdy. A+.
Pick.
A+, baby. No grade from Debo. That's an A+. You okay with that pick?
I had him going to Carolina at 6.
I knew you did. I take that. All right. Carolina's on the clock at 6, and they are royally screwed. What are you doing?
I am going to take Kayvon Thibodeau because they don't have one pass rusher on this team right now.
I mean, I can't even push back too much on that. He hasn't he hasn't been setting the world on fire, but they have nothing. So fair enough. All right, next up, I'm taking best player available. I'm done with this trying to figure out stuff. You find a way to make this young man work. Trent McDuffie going to the Giants at number 7. They get Brock Purdy and Trent McDuffie. I think that's a better football team than they are as we currently sit here.
Yeah, I had Trent McDuffie going in one of my picks.
All right, the Falcons are on the clock. You can take the same pick here. You're going to do something interesting.
I'm going to do something interesting.
All right.
I'm taking Chris Olave.
Do you like him better than Drake?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right.
I think he's more explosive. And Drake hasn't played to his draft status yet, so I'm taking Chris Olave. And Chris Olave put on a pretty good show last week, too.
Yeah, no, he absolutely did. All right. Seattle Seahawks, they originally took Charles Cross. I panic drafted him earlier. I'm going to take, they need to bolster that offensive line. They took Abe Lucas in the same draft. I'm not taking him here. My point is that they tried to fix it, and when Abe was healthy, they had a pretty good go of it. I'm going to take Tyler Smith. He's had a pretty good run. In Dallas, they thought about moving him outside. They got Tyler Guyton, so they left Tyler inside, and he makes that offensive line better because that offensive line had some struggles early on. And final, the 10th pick in the 2022 redraft, New York Jets are selecting Mr. Spielman.
I am going to take, there's some, I was looking at the center position, and Tyler Linderbaum is a ideal option here. But I'm going to go in a different direction. With the Jets defense, I am going to go with Kyle Hamilton, the safety that Baltimore originally took.
I like it. Another Brian Branch candidate. Everyone got scared by the 40 time. He's a really good football player. Tebow is heavy on the Fs.
You're telling me.
Yeah, Tebow, give yourself an F because the instructions were not very clear.
Players from this draft have played 2 seasons. The guy that has been a first-team All-Pro both seasons at his position does not get drafted.
Who's that?
Sauce Gardner.
Oh, Sauce. How about that?
Oh, I thought Sauce was taken.
You're fired. You're fired, GM.
All right, I'm taking Sauce Gardner at 10. Can I resubmit? I thought he was off the board.
It's still bad to wait that long. Got Charles Cross in there, but we can't get Sauce.
No.
I may panic on that one. But let me ask you this. Rick and Debo, are you taking Trent McDuffie or Sauce Gardner based on those 2 years of what we know about them?
I would have taken Sauce. I thought for sure that you would have taken him at one point, but you didn't. You screwed this whole exercise up. Debo put 5 minutes into this exercise, and you ruined it for everybody.
Is there any other names we missed, Debo, that you're angry about?
No, I mean, Stingley's probably close.
He had the injuries early on. I take full credit for
Deron Bland. Like, he's not sneaking into the top 10, but he's probably in consideration.
No, absolutely. He's made a case. I should have taken Sauce at 3, and then I'm fine with the other picks that I made. But yeah,
if you didn't take Sauce at 3, it just threw this whole exercise out of whack.
I own that. Fair enough. Let's blame
How
me.
close, reemergence of the running back with James Cook.
James Cook has some juice. I wouldn't take him in the first round, in the top 10 at least. George Pickens any consideration here, Rick, or no?
He was on my borderline list for sure.
What about Jameson?
Jameson Williams?
No. Nope.
He's electric, but just hasn't been healthy enough.
Yeah. No. You're basing it off the first 2 years of their deal.
Right.
Oh, really? That's why we omitted Sauce Gardner.
He got us there, Rick. He got us there.
You have this guy like scurry back up to his Ivy Tower. This whole thing, or Ivory, whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah. Once again, under pressure, Ryan Wilson cracks. I should have taken Sauce at 3 to the Texans.
Charles Cross. I mean, God, what are we doing with our lives right now?
Charles Cross can help. He's a day one starter. All right. All right. The good news is we'll be back Thursday to talk about the college kids. We'll be doing with the first pick quarterback rankings. Week 3, talk about some non-quarterbacks we liked. Look ahead to week 4 of the college season, which is crazy to think about. Big game, Rick, USC, Michigan. I think BMAC's going to be in Ann Arbor for that game, that team up north, as you call it. Miller Moss versus, I don't know who Michigan started their quarterback, so that's going to be something to watch, but we'll see how our buddy Miller Moss does against that defense. All right, that's it. That's a wrap on episode 180. As always, thanks, my guy Rick. Thanks for Debo for producing yet again.
Real quick, how bad did we butcher that exercise that you put together? Was that bad?
I'm not sending that to the social team because I'm trying to protect you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, next time we're gonna have to do it ahead of time so Debo can grade us and not have to grade us in real time. A lot of F's on that report card.
I don't. Yeah, you're telling me that Kyle Hampton's an F. Yeah, that was just, those guys are good football players, Debo.
Yeah, Debo, learn the game. All right.
I would rather have Kyle Hamilton than Jordan Davis. I'll tell you that.
And Saquon Barkley. All right, that's it for Rick. That's it for Debo and me. Thanks all you guys who watch and listen. We'll see you guys Thursday.